Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Harold Campos and today I will be speaking about the Retrieval Augmented Generation pattern with IBM Mainframes and IBM My Systems using Azure Logic Apps. So let's start defining what is legacy. So let me show you a few things here, right? Is this Jupyter Notebook legacy or this C++ code application program legacy? Or this Visual Basic, probably 5 legacy, or this one. This is a job, JCL code running on a mainframe. From a data perspective, this is a JSON file that was built probably last year. This is an XML file, yeah. I mean that is reflecting that JSON file. Or this binary data that we have in a VSAM file in a host, in a mainframe system. Or this. I guess you don't know what it is, so I'm going to leave it like that, the sponge card. I think we've been talking about integrating with legacy systems for a while, and it's not now with the introduction the development of AI. It's important to remember that there are some key dates where, these massive systems, the legacy, what we know as hyper legacy or ultra legacy systems, have been released. The IBM IMS system was released in around 1967. Then the CICS in 1968. Then the 3270 streams, I think 1971. And then you had IBM I, or formerly known as ACE400 back then, 1988, and IBM MQ for messaging, then active server pages. I'm sure that you remember those, and .NET 2000, and then today AI. So legacy is all what you have built, right? So it's even yesterday. So you are building your own legacy. Whatever you have built is legacy already. So then it's important to determine what's the best approach to incorporate your legacy into your integration. So then you can leverage a number of patterns. One of them is the data-driven design pattern. The other one is the automation and modernization design pattern. And the other one is the enhanced interaction design pattern. And all of these patterns, they are in the integration space, right? So I think in any case, you can picture AI on one side and your legacy in the other, right? So then you need, in any case, you're going to be needing, regardless of the pattern, you need a powerful hybrid orchestrator. And that's where Logic Apps come to play, right? So you have Azure Logic Apps. And for those of you who don't know what Azure Logic Apps is, and I'm sure that most of you know, it's a cloud hybrid-based service for orchestrating workflows, integrating businesses or business processes, applications, and data across hybrid environments in a visual manner. And codeful now, because we have a strong and ever-growing codeful capabilities. The model that is followed by Logic Apps is fairly simple. So you have events, actions, and outputs. The events, they will react to timers, HTTP, or events from your favorite Azure services or others, right? Like IBM MQ in my case, I like the IBM legacy systems. Actions that occur after the events, if, switch, for, do, until, join, filter, etc. JavaScript code, XML, JSON transform, and then connecting to hundreds of services available via our connectors and service providers. And then the outputs, which is sending results to an ever-growing collection of services. So you have a trigger, you have an action, and then you have the output. Logic Apps has two types or two flavors for now, right? So the stateful workflows and the stateless workflows. The stateful workflows, they preserve the state, right? Therefore stateful. For each step that gets executed in a workflow, they have high resiliency. You have the run history available. You can resubmit. So you can do a lot of things because you are preserving a state, as opposed to the stateless workflow, where this is not so much for high resiliency, but more for high throughput. So you want to make things faster, and recoverability is probably not your priority. So then you can use the stateless workflows, and that's that's the high-level distinction between both. And but now getting into AI, we have through Logic Apps, we have the ability to load, split, embed, and store different to support all of these different stages of ingesting data into OpenAI. And the great thing is that because we have all of these connectors available, because there are all of these connectors available to all of these different technologies on premises or in the cloud or software as a service or other legacy systems like the ones that I'm going to show you, then we are best positioned to extract that data or call those applications and then load the inputs, split them, and embed them into OpenAI, and then get them to wherever we want them to be stored, right? So I think without getting into the details of the connectors and the capabilities that we have, the OpenAI connectors and the search connectors and everything, I'm gonna get real quick to show you how this works, right? The idea of bringing AI insights to workflows with Azure Logic Apps is pictured here. So you can retrieve, you have a question, and then through a voice assistant, through an AI agent, which is something that you're going to be hearing a lot from us very soon, conversational agents, and then you do a vector search on the data you have already ingested, right? So then that is the part where you're going to be interacting with the vector search and then augmenting your data and then use it for through a prompt to an LLM to a large language model in OpenAI, and then get a response. So I'm going to show you how is it that this happens, but something that I really need you to remember is that AI does great things for you when you can use all your grounding data and applications. So not part of it, but you can make your hyper legacy systems available for you to integrate against, right? So it's a matter of preserving a business case. All of what you have been building over the last 50, 60 years has to be available for you to make the best decisions. So now I'm going to get to the demo. What I'm going to show you is a request for a personalized financial advice that is going to go to Logic Apps. It will be using the recommendation engine LLM. And it will interact with a number of Mainframes applications and data to finally receive the financial advice. So let me get to that now. So for that purpose, I have created a few Logic Apps workflows. I have one that is called request financial profile that will be accepting the request for getting an advice. And then the next one is the one that does the ingestion into OpenAI, and the third one that is called Get Advice will actually do the work of getting you the advice that you were looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to open the first workflow, and then I'm going to log on to my VMs to show you the legacy systems that I'm going to be interacting with. Let me see if I was kicked off. Of course I was. So was kicked out of this. So let me see if this successfully. Now let me go to the next one. Of course, I need to reconnect. And, let's do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get into these legacy systems. I'm going to log on to my my mainframe system, and I'm going to show you a few things in there, and then I'm going to go to the Logic app. Right. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is that I have this mainframe. Right. We have a mainframe, and in this mainframe, I will connect and I will show you a few things, and then I will show you how we make them available through the workflow in Logic Apps, right? So I'm gonna real quick. I'm gonna log on to the host, and then what you will see is the first thing that I'm going to show you is some data that I have available in a data set here that is called hcampus.data.backup. I'm gonna browse it now because this is the data that right now in the host is in binary format, right? So this is a file that has a fixed structure, and for that structure we have also this resembles a structure that we have we can recreate in what we call let me show you what we call an HIDX file, or a file that preserves the structure of all of these records, right? So if I want to be able to use that information, that binary data that is available in the host in my to train my model, right? Then I have to make sure that it's understood by the non-mainframe world, which is the ASCII world. So in that manner, what I do is using Visual Studio or the HIS Designer for Logic Apps, which is publicly available, we can create a structure of this data, right? In the data, following the data types that exist in the mainframe, right? Many of you might be familiar with the PIC types, PIC X30, 9, 20, and such. These are strings. And then what I do is I have this table that is called customer. I have created a copy of it with different some different names. Here, let me see, customers. Yes, this is name, SSN, street, so because these are friendly names. But anyway, so that resembles this structure that I have here. Let me go back to the file. Okay, so then this is hcampus.data.backup. It's available in the mainframe. I can access to it via FTP as well, and then download it. So there are many ways how I can get a hold of this data. Anyway, so that's that, right? So that's the data that is available there, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to log off, right? And then I am going to disconnect, right? But I'm going to disconnect to show you something else. So I just show you some data, right? Some data that is in binary format that is in the host. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a different type of application that we have in the host, which is a 3270 application, right? So in CICS, we have this application that what it does, it connects to the mainframe and it executes a transaction, right? But the way how it works is like this. So I connect to the mainframe, session, connect, and then in here I write the name of the region, and then I see that I'm getting into the CICS environment for our team. I clear, right, and I execute this transaction, right? And this transaction, what it does is it goes and it pulls the account balance for this person who is going to be the person that we are going to be working with for this demonstration. I can't remember let me check the account number for this person. I think it is here, somewhere here. So I think it is here. Let me just quickly check what is the account that is used. Okay. So it is, let's go to this one. Yeah, it is CHK 4566 112. So then when I enter this information, I get the balance of this person. It was ultra fast, ultra quick, right? So this is a fairly simple code program. And then we return the account balance for this person that I'm going to be used as an income in the example because I like the amount, right? I mean, we want to have an income like that on a monthly basis. But anyway, so that is so this is a CICS transaction, and to get to this point, I had to log onto the system. I had to do a number of steps to enter the information and get the balance, right? So then we have what we do. I'm just gonna disconnect it. What we do is we have a tool that allows us to record those screens and then save the metadata of it. So if I go to capture here and then I connect, you will see that I have the ability to create a recording and capture the recording for these screens, and then all of the navigation that happens around those screens, and then create a scenario that will allow me to interact with that data successfully, right? So then if I go here to start, it will start recording. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just test, right? So if I do here test, you will see that exactly what I did live in the host, it has been wrapped in a method, right? So then in this recording, so then what I'm doing now is I'm doing these steps. I'm following the steps, CICS VBTA and such and such. So to summarize, what I'm doing is I'm going through the whole process, right? And I'm calling the transaction, and then I'm getting the screen where I have to enter the information, and I'm passing the information as parameters, and I'm getting the data back, right? So that is basically what is happening. So this then is returned to the program that that has the control. In this case, is Logic Apps. So I log off, right? That's the command that I should have written just a few minutes ago, right? And then I close the testing, and then I got the response, right? So then the response, this is the data that is coming from the host. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how is it that this metadata that I had here was generated a file. So I'm using that file, uploaded that file into a Logic App, so then you can see the file in, you can have access to that data from Logic Apps, right? So then this Logic App is linked to a virtual network that has access to my mainframe, right? So there is a secure connection between this Logic App that is running in the cloud, right? And it has access to the mainframe via a VNet, a virtual network that I have configured in networking here. So in networking, I have this VNet. This VNet is linked to the mainframe, and everything is great. So then now that I have shown you that, then I can get into explaining what this first workflow does. What it does is receives an HTTP request, and then it gets into calling an IBM CICS system that is in the same mainframe that has a similar transaction that is called get balance, that receives a name and an account, right? So this is called using the CICS connector that we have. This one is using the 3270 connector, and is using exactly the recording that I did just a few minutes ago, and the metadata gets stored into HIDX files. The same for this one. In this case, this one is pulling data from DB2 to complement the data that is going to be ingested into the LLM. And this other one is doing something interesting. So this one is going through a product called API management to manage APIs and the life cycle of them, and it's connecting to another workflow that basically has a connector for IBM systems to call RPG programs, and it's going to my environment in Skytap that has the program that is running, that is getting the data for me, which is, yes, it's account balance as well, right? So then you will see that I have this RPG program running in Skytap in the cloud, but as it is in a different subscription, in a different resource group and in a different subscription, yes, that doesn't have really access to their mainframe. So then this is going to some other environment. So then I thought it was a good idea to show you the APIM connector calling that particular program. So now I have a compose that receives all of that information and creates a profile. So that's why I call this workflow request financial profile. And then it sends the LLM to it sends the message, this profile, to an LLM ingest system. And in this case, just for this, to show you how is it that we interact with legacy systems, I'm using the MQ connector that we have to connect to an IBM MQ system. So let me open the MQ system here for you to see. So I have this queue that is called ingest LLM, right? So, and then I'm gonna browse the messages here. And this MQ system is connected to it's in the host, right? It's in the mainframe. So I'm connected to a queue manager that is running in a mainframe. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the queue to the mainframe. So then this is the bridge for the mainframe to know that something is happening, right? There is an ingestion process, and I can send a copy of this message to any other queue, right? But I'm choosing to just do this. So then what I can do is I can go to the second workflow that will do the actual ingestion. So the first one will create a profile, and the second one will actually do the ingestion, which is basically getting the notification from the it was too quick, from the IBM MQ system through a queue, right, through the trigger that is capturing is waiting for the messages to arrive asynchronously, of course. So this is the browse log trigger that allows you to do this sort of commit / abort or pick log with queues, which is the closest thing to transactional that we have. And then what it's going to do is it's going to go and it's going to start the process. Here I have through custom code I'm bringing. I created a parallel path just for the sake of just to show it as a sample. So I'm reading the customer's file, the ported binary file that I had shown you, the data set where I had all of this list of customers, and I'm reading it from a blob storage, right, which is available, or I can go in through the code of FTP to do the binary read and then get it from there. So now, this is just to show you that you can connect to the host using FTP and then using commands and everything and do the work, right? Then the next thing that happens is that I use the host files connector to convert that binary data into something that can be understood in the ASCII world, as I said, right? So that's the host files connector that allows you to read sort of VSAM files and other types of binary files. And then we parse the information, we parse the current customer, we filter lists, because I'm ingesting, if you can see, if you were able to see it, I'm creating a profile in the first workflow, but in the second workflow, I'm also bringing a lot of data that is coming from the host and one of those records is the record of the person that we need to ask questions against, right? So then we create this profile. So we do a lot of JSON manipulation, which is, Logic Apps is great for doing this work. And then what we do in the end, we do a chunk, which is part of our connector. So we have this chunk operation that allows you to chunk the data using an encoding model and a specified token size. And then this is what gets prepared to go to OpenAI to get the embeddings for the data that I'm ingesting, right? And then the next thing that's going to happen is that I will select embeddings and I will store them in an Azure Search index for them to be queried later when I try to retrieve the data. So that is the second one, the second workflow. And finally, so let me open the third workflow, which is the one that gets the advice. I'm close to finish, so I just need to show you how the third workflow works, right? Which is the one that does retrieval. But a few things that I wanted to call out before getting there is that the third workflow, which is the one that does the retrieval, it also receives right now, the way how I did it, it's receiving a payload with the name of the user and some additional information, and I'll go through the steps on why is it that that I'm sending this information. You don't have to. It can be asynchronous. You can trigger a queue. You can do anything else. But in this case, what I'm doing is just I'm kicking it off, at my when I want to, right? So in this case, I will be using this payload. So let me open this, and then so I have the person key makers, the account number is 1 through 6, and then employee ID 10,000. And I just included this yesterday to show you that I'm extracting this data from DB2. So I'm going to go to the first one, which is this workflow. I'm going to run with payload. You can use Postman as well, or you can do a fancy web app, and then you can send the request there, submit it from Teams or anywhere else, because right now it's all hyper connected. So then your request has been received and is being processed. So let me show you what happened here, right? So what happened is that in this, I'm gonna go to the run history, and then of course I'm going to open the MQ system, right, to show you that there has to be some, it's most likely that it's gone from here, right? So let me browse messages. So there's nothing here because the message passed through here, and then it went direct to the Logic app, right? So then this is the execution right now. This is the latest. Yes, this is the time. So I'll go to the details, and then you will see that the first thing that happened is that I submit this JSON payload, right? Key makers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10,000, and then I get the balance, right? I get the balance for this person, and it returns 777.12. Then I get the balance from the 3270 green screens, right? So it executed all of this sequence of screens in the mainframe, and then it got me the balance that I'm calling income, moving forward, right? Just for the sake of the example and the argument, right? And then the next thing that happens is that I go to DB2 and I extract the real date, right? This is not how I would probably code it, but this is just a query that goes to DB2 with this employee ID, and it's getting the birth date, the hiring date, and the job position. And then after that, I call ACE400 to get some other balance, right, for the same person, account, and number. So this is going somewhere else, but another legacy system. So then you see we're interacting so far with IBM CICS, with IBM 3270 screens in a CICS transaction. We are calling data from DB2. We are using MQ as a transport, IBM MQ. We are calling IBM I through Skytap, right? And then we compose, and in the compose, I create this profile for the person, right? The customer account, employee information, their date, hiring date, job position, and such, balance savings, balance checking, monthly income. And with this information, this is the starting point for what I want to ingest. And then I send it to MQ. This is what is sent to MQ, is confirmation that it was successful, right? And then we get the response success. So then I go to the next one, which is the ingest customer profile. And then you will see that the ingestion happened automatically, right? Because it's still processing a few other things. But the one that I submitted, let me go to this one. Let me check what's doing right now. Run history. Yes, I decided to run a lot of things anyway. So it's trying to get the multiple embeddings from it, but then let me go while it's working. So let me show you what is happening here, right? So I got the MQ, it got the queue, and this is the data from the content. So then it captured, the MQ trigger was able to capture the information from the queue. Then I read the binary data of the files that I had in the host for a bit. Right. I also, well, this one just pulled, I don't know if, it brought the same thing, right, as well. So you will see that this is the same binary file real quick, etc. And then it parsed a list of customers, which is the list of customers that you saw in the green screen, right? So I mean, the list of customers that we had, Amy, Potter, and such, all of these list of customers. And then what it did is parse the current customer, which is key makers, and it start filtering the other list, and then it composed a customer full profile, right, with all of the data that it has available, right? And then it will use that, including the additional information in the parsing, right, and chunk tests and such. So let me go back to the run history to see if it's about to finish one of this, or I'll just kill it. So this is the one that finished. The other ones expired. I sent them yesterday, I think. So then you will see that it chunked the text, right? And this one, it was submitted. It was submitted for the embeddings, and then all of the data, right? That's where with embeddings will return, and then it created the index. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and request the advice. And to request the advice, right, what it does is it does something similar, right? So I have a number of system messages and everything, to tell the model who am I, right? I mean, the system message, the sample responses, the query for this is a system message for the query, and then I consolidate that. I get the search query, I get the embedding, I do the vector search, and I use the prompt, a very nice prompt, right? And then I get the chat completions with the information that I am getting from the flow, right? And I get the response. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run with a payload. I'm going to use the same payload. Let's see if this works. What does it bring? But the whole idea of this is that it will run and it will consolidate. It will do a vector search in the Azure Search index, and then it will get the advice. And this is the advice, right? So the name, the age unknown, right? Recommendations. This is probably not the instance where I was pulling the data from, right? Because some others, I'll check which one is the latest one. And then I run out of credits. And then it says, okay, so the increasing savings is a strategy given your monthly income is $41,000, but you only have a balance of this, and that. It's important to increase your savings. aim to save 20% of your income, which will be around 8,000 something. Strategy, emergency fund, establish an emergency fund, diversified investments. You live in Bellevue, Washington, being a tech hub with significant employment in the IT and software industries, offers various financial opportunities and such. So in the end, all of these advices, right, they are catered, they are tailored to the data that you have fed from your model, right? In this particular case, it had a lot of messages queued from yesterday, so that's why they mixed up. But what is important to mention is that, and I wanted to stress out, is the ability for you to bring the data from all of these hyper legacy systems and data, so then you can use them to do more modern solutions, right? I think it's by using Logic Apps, you have the ability to not only do RAG, but also to do agents and such, and you will see a lot of things over the next few weeks and months that I'm sure that you will love, right? From my perspective, I keep inviting you to this to watch my videos in this channel, and thanks a lot for listening, and let me see if I have any further content. I don't think I do, right? But let me just finish this, and then appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, please drop me a note in the comments, right? And I invite you to continue using Logic Apps for these RAG patterns, integration with AI, and hyper legacy systems. Thank you, and have a great rest of the week.